Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to Let's Try The Elder Scrolls Legends. Elder Scrolls Legends is a collectible card game set in the world of Elder Scrolls. You're going to see races like the Nords, groups like the Imperials, and so on and so forth. If you're a fan of Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind, etc., 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 you may find yourself enjoying this card game quite a bit as a result. Of course, being a collectible card game, it's going to share a lot of features that we've seen before in other games, Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, etc. And the big question is, what does this bring to the table that is new, maybe more strategic? What can possibly pull people away from the big daddies in the physical world, probably Magic the Gathering, in the virtual world, Hearthstone? Why would you play this game instead? Other than maybe, you want to experience this flavor or whatever. You will see a lot of things that may have been first introduced to the computerized world of collectible card games in Hearthstone, because Hearthstone is really the first successful electronic CCG as opposed to a physical CCG. And so you learn certain lessons about how the interface should work. You'll see a lot of things like Hearthstone really did away with the idea of sort of interrupting and responding to other people's action, which made gameplay a lot faster. Some of those things have certainly also appeared here in Elder Scrolls Legends, but there's also a slew of new type of gameplay features and strategic features that I actually am a big fan of, and we're going to talk about those, well, I guess right now, I suppose. I do have some packs to open up as well, so if you stay to the end of the video, I'll be opening. I've got 7 packs here. In the play mode over here, now it's worth noting this is the alpha playtest build, likely to be very different from what happens at the end. There is a full sort of story campaign here of 20 different chapters, including some nice video work. It's one of those like, oh god, like, like the static art, but that sort of moves around. Like they're movies, but they're not really movies. Anyway, they look great, good voice acting. Each one of these little chapters has a little bit of dialogue that introduces the concept, tells a story, and the whole way you are... This also acts as a tutorial. You start with a basic deck. After each fight, you get some extra cards, then you unlock some more pre-made decks, and so on and so forth until you get to the end. And that was a lot of fun to do. I did that. You got a lot of cards. You even got some free packs. Those are the ones... Actually, I haven't spent any money or anything like that. All the packs I've gotten are the ones that came for free as part of the story or reward for some of the battle. You also got some gold. You get gold from some of the battles and from completing daily quests, same as you might be used to in some other games. Can I see the quests here, for example? Yeah, I've got 2 quests right now. I've got to win 3 games with intelligence, as well as win a versus battle against another player. What I should do, before we go into an actual game, we should really talk about the card mechanics. The biggest difference that you've got here is that there are not really any classes. If you come from Hearthstone, you're used to the idea that there are 9 classes. Each class has their own card pool, as well as a pool of neutral cards. That is not the case here in Legends. Instead, there are 5 different attributes: strength, intelligence, willpower, agility, and endurance. And all cards fit under one of those categories, or under the category of neutral cards. When you build a deck, you can use cards from 2 different attributes combined, and they all have a nickname. So if I start a new deck and I pick, say, I don't know, agility, so I'm going to put arrow in the knee. Aha. So let's say I put in 1 agility card, so I've already got an agility deck, and let's say I pick a second color, so I'm going to throw in some endurance over here and get that started. This is considered to be a scout, is the nickname for the class. Again, there are no class abilities. It's just a scout is your agility endurance type thing. You can see the item filter has changed over here so that now I can only pick from agility, endurance, or neutral. What is this other one that I keep going over? These are dual attribute cards. Let me go ahead and remove everything so we can see all the dual attributes. These are cards that have 2 attributes and therefore can only go in a deck of that color. For example, when I did go agility endurance, it allowed me to pick Thorn Histmage, who is both agility and endurance, and he'll only ever be allowed to be put into a scout style deck. Otherwise, if I say include, if I want to use Tyr over here, a legendary creature, he is also unique. The gem at the top means you can only have 1 in a deck. If I put him in, then I'm forced to be a strength willpower deck, as well as having the neutral cards over here. You need at least 50 cards to build a deck in this game. You can have up to 3 instances of each cards, which puts it a little bit in the middle between, again, most paper CCGs let you use about 4 copies of cards. Obviously, Magic the Gathering is a good example of that. Hearthstone would only give you 2 copies of cards. Hearthstone has a very small deck size at 30. Magic the Gathering's minimum deck size is 60, but that's a little bit deceptive, actually, because in Magic, you're going to want, out of your 60 card deck, you're going to want about 20 to maybe 24-ish land in there. Let's say 20 land, which leaves 40 real cards. And if you can have 4 copies of each cards, in a sense, a Magic the Gathering deck gives you about 10 slots to play with. Whereas in Hearthstone, since there's a 2-card limit and a 30-card deck, you really have 15 slots to play with, which means decks in Hearthstone are actually a lot more random than decks in Magic, because there's going to be more consistency in a Magic deck because you've got more copies of fewer cards, for example. And actually in Hearthstone in practice, because you usually don't double up on everything, and also there's legendaries, in practice you probably have somewhere around 17 or 18 unique cards per deck. Here, with a limit of 3 and a minimum deck size of 50 cards, you're ending up with, what does that work out? About 16 point something unique cards per deck, which means there's actually a lot of variation here in a Legends deck. However, there are a few more mechanics that thin out the deck a little bit more than you might expect, and we'll talk about that once we get into the game. It's worth noting that, like paper CCGs, the card deck here is actually minimum. You can have from 50 to 70 cards in a deck in Legends. Generally speaking, you'll always want to use the minimum. And the reason for that is the smaller your deck is, the more tight and focused it is. If you do make a 70-card deck, well, the chance of you getting, the real optimal cards, your combo cards, for example, gets reduced. So usually, just like if you're, a paper CCG player, generally speaking, you always want to use the minimum deck size. Anyway, I'm not going to go and make this deck now. I've got a couple kicking around. If we go to my deck list, most of these, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of these decks are decks that you get as part of playing the campaign, pre-made decks for you. And I've got a couple that I've built this tank like mad, didn't really work very well. But the Sorcerer one is quite a lot of fun, and that's the one that I'm going to show off. Here's the spell list if you want to take a look. I do not have a lot of cards here. I basically only got the cards that I unlocked in the campaign, and I think I opened one card pack, and that's it. So I don't have a whole lot of depth. We're going to hit play. I'm going to play a solo game against the AI, just so that I think there's no timer in that case. So then we can talk about that. So I'm going to do this. We'll go to Adept difficulty. You do have to unlock these by beating them. Expert is not that hard. I mean, it's just an AI player, but I'm going to go and just leave it down 1 notch because I don't want to lose on screen over here. So locating opponent, i.e. connecting to, I don't know, an AI or something like that. I don't know if the server needs to be up for this. Probably it does. Right, because you get quest rewards and stuff. I'm not sure. And I don't think you can complete any quests at all in practice mode. I think that's one of the things. So I'm going to be going second, so I'm going to be mulliganing over here. Firebolt, do I want to start with that in hand? It's pretty cheap, but I think I'd like to just mulligan everything away and hope to get some guaranteed creatures to drop early on. So my opponent's going to go first, and alright, she didn't actually play anything. So it's my turn. One thing that you're going to be able to tell here is there's this weird line in the middle of the map. Also, if you hold down your mouse, it looks really pretty. Oh, that's great. One of the first major distinguishing features. So first of all, first distinguishing feature of Legends is the idea that you're building your decks with these 2 attributes, which means if there's 5 attributes, that means there are 20 different combinations. So there's effectively 20 different classes, right? Because you pick from one of 5 colors, and then you pick from one of 4 remaining colors. That's 4 times 5 is 20 decks. Although you can also really kind of just make a single color deck. So in a sense, I guess that's about 25 different possible setups for your decks. And actually, I'm suspecting there will be a lot of monocolor or nearly monocolor decks later on, because I don't know if I've got any in my hand. I didn't show any earlier. But there's quite a lot of creatures that when you put them into play, if the top card of your deck is another card of the same type, most of them will say that. So here, it would say something like, if the top card of your deck is an endurance card, then this creature gets +1/+1 and guard, which is taunt, for example. And that's quite cool. So you can make these monocolor decks that are really based around that, and maybe splash in a little bit of neutral or a little bit from a second class, but not too much, because you really want that to be reliable. And then, how do you pick and choose, which is really, really great. I love that variety. The other thing that's crazy about this is there are 2 lanes. there is not just one battlefield. There are two battlefields here. So getting board control is considerably more difficult because to completely lock down a board is quite hard. There tends to be this second lane. Creatures can only attack things in their own lane, or the enemy hero, for example. And so locking down both lanes is very hard. It's going to be a much more fluid battlefield. Not only that, the battlefield on the left works the way you'd expect from Hearthstone. I guess I'll cast a creature here. This is the equivalent of the Hearthstone coin. It's not a card that's in your hand. It's a support effect. There are many support effects. In fact, I've got some in this deck, I believe, that you can play, and it shows up here. It's an enchantment that affects the whole battlefield. There are plenty of creatures and cards that do destroy support effects on the other side. This is one with 3 uses. You activate it, and it gives you a Magicka. So that gives me enough so that I can put down the Old Gate Warden over here. He's a 0/5 taunt with regeneration. So I'm dropping him here. You can see quite clearly he shows up on the left-hand side of the board, and that's it. If there's a creature over here, that creature will be able to attack me and ignore this creature entirely. Spells do hit things on both sides, and if you do have a creature that, you know, comes into play and then deals 1 damage to someone else, then you can hit things all over the board. That's fine. It's just the normal attack. So that's that lane. The lane on the right is kind of interesting. This is the shadow lane. Now, in the campaign, there's actually a lot more variety. Some of the campaign battles are a single lane. Some of them are 2 like this. And there are different varieties. I think there's like 5 different types of lanes. It looks like in standard duel mode, we have 2 lanes. The left lane is always the field lane. The right lane is always the shadow lane. Here, creatures that get played in the shadow lane gain cover. They are stealthed, and they can't be attacked. The stealth goes away after 1 turn. Stealth also goes away if your creature has guard. They never get cover. Additionally, if your creature has charge and attacks, that will break cover as well. It's worth noting that creatures with cover can still be attacked by spells. But the shadow lane is quite interesting because if your opponent has control over this lane, you can counter it pretty easily by playing a creature which then can't be attacked and gives you time to develop the other side. So I definitely focus on getting a creature down on the left-hand side first if I can. So I could firebolt this creature, but that won't actually kill it. When you summon another creature, give it +1/+0. So that's quite good. A 1/3 for 2 that has that effect. Very sort of zoo-like. I think what I'm going to do is I will use my Elixir of Magicka to get another Magicka here. Again, it's only usable once per turn. Now I'll have a choice. Do I put down the Haunting Spirit? 3/3 is pretty good. That last cast, Death Rattle effect, is very, very, very potent. Give a random friendly creature +3/+3 is huge. I could also just Crushing Blow this 1/3. And I'm kind of tempted to do that because what I don't want is this +1/+0 buff to go off. So while I would like to develop my board, I actually am quite keen on doing this and denying him the ability, or her the ability, to get that second bonus. So we're going to go ahead and do that. These willpower decks tend to be very focused on like mutual buffing and very sort of zoo-like. So I could go and Elixir of Magicka out my Ash Servant, but that seems like a waste because I don't have an enemy creature to target. So I may as well just cast the Haunting Spirit naturally. And I think I'm going to develop the left-hand side of the board here, lock that down, and really, if she wants to put down another creature over here, I'll be in great shape. Most likely, if she casts another creature, she'll put it on the cover side. Oh, that's a very powerful effect. Very powerful indeed. Fills a lane with 1/1s. You can see 4 is the maximum that you can put in one of these lanes when it's a 2-lane map. When it's a 1-lane map, I think you can put 6. Maybe it's 7. I'm not sure. Hell, for all I know, it's 8 in the middle. I'm not positive. These are all concealed as well. Again, I can target them with spells. So I get a couple of interesting options here. Again, I could put down the Ash Servant. I could even put it down on the right-hand side. Remember, I would actually be in cover here, which is quite cool. And I could use it to bop one of these dudes. That's not bad. I could Firebolt, but then I would leave me with nothing else. Well, I could Coin, I suppose, for the Firebolt, but I don't think these guys are important enough to use that. I could just drop a Tome of Alteration on one of my creatures. There are a lot of item cards, or buff cards, in this game that you can put on your creatures. In fact, when I was playing against human players, it seems like a lot of them. Now, I don't know if it's because, you know, items are shiny and cool and interesting, and it's always awesome to get like one really big fat creature, but almost everyone seemed to use quite a few buffs in their decks. As such, this deck here that you can see actually includes a fair deal of silence effects. I don't think I actually included the silence cards themselves, although I think I may have to put that in because there's so much of that. Although I'm trying to remember if I've got some other effects to directly kill creatures. They've got a fair amount of burn, and so I think that's part of the idea. This is a very slow, control-y kind of deck. Tries to burn down any creatures before they get buffed too much, and then plunk away at people if possible. Tome of Alteration would be quite good on my Old Gate Warden, because it would allow it to attack, give it more health, and it does fully regenerate at the start of every single round, which is really, really good. And I think I'm leaning towards that, actually. Plus, it gives me a card draw, which is always fun. Let's go ahead and do that. Get a 2/7. And what did I get? A Brutal Ashlander, 1/1, and its last grab is to deal 3 damage to a random enemy. I could coin him out, put him over here. Again, he'd be stealth next turn. I could go and kill one and then explode and do the other one. Seems a little sucky. I think I'd rather save this so I can put out the Shocking Wamasu a little sooner. I'm not sure that he's worth it for the mana here. Right? A 4/4 that deals 4 damage comes in. I mean, that tends to kill something. And a 4/4 is a pretty decent body. But it's really expensive. But as I said, I don't have much in the way of cards. Oh, and... Alright, we'll talk about this card in a second. There's something very important I've got to talk about here. So you may have noticed that we each started the game with 30 hit points. And then you've got these runes around your hit point thing. Every time you lose enough hit points to reach one of these runes, i.e. every time you lose 5 hit points, the rune gets burned and you draw a card. It's a really fascinating sort of catch-up, anti-aggro mechanic. If you've got a bad draw and a slow start and you take some early damage, you're going to draw a couple extra cards, which can help you get back in the game. Not only that, but some cards, I don't have any in hand right now, some cards have the keyword Prophecy. If the free card you draw from having a rune explode has the Prophecy keyword, you can instantly cast it for free. There's actually a response mechanic. So basically, if I had hit her for, the 5 damage to bring her down to 25, and I still had another action I wanted to do. And in fact, I could have coined out an effect. Well, that I would have had to wait because the card would have been hovering, because it's a prophecy and it could have been cast instantly. There's creatures with prophecy effects. There are spells with prophecy effects. They tend to be a little bit more expensive, a little bit more highly costed than their just normal version of the card, but that sort of ability to cast it free is pretty powerful, and in particular, that is a big anti-aggro mechanic, is the idea that you can really get back in the game quite amazingly if you have a lot of prophecy cards in your deck, but again, they're more expensive, so you'll be innately a slower tempo deck, but it sort of works together. Alright, so I've got to choose what I'm going to do over here. I think the thing to do will be to put down the Ash Servant and Firebolt to kill that. Alternatively, I could go and just smash the Hunting Spirit in there, Firebolt it or something for the final kill, and then the Hunting Spirit would go and give +3 to the Old Gate Warden, which wouldn't be terrible, but I don't think I need to do that right now. So I'm going to put the Ash Servant over here, and you'll notice something. The creature is in play. The on-summon effects that trigger, and of course, if you're a Hearthstone player, you're used to thinking of Battle Cry. Battle Cries, or these summon effects, target after your creature enters play, which means if one of your creatures, there's like, I think it's a casting cost 1/1 creature that has as its summon effect, give a creature +0/+2. You can actually, it can target itself, which means worst case scenario, it's a 1/3 for 1. But ideally, you probably want to buff something else. So anyway, I'm going to do 2 damage over here. So that has certain subtle implications. We're going to do that, and then we're going to go for face. And no, I'm still going to save it, so it would be nice. Oh, he just drew another prophecy card. Did you see that? I'm gonna keep saving my coin probably to try to do an early Shocking Wamasu. And I think I'll always call this coin. I think most people will call this a coin. Legion Shield, +1/+3 is vaguely unpleasant. So I just lost a rune, drew a Dunmer Nightblade for free. Well, for free, at a cost of 5 life. And I'm about to get another one. And that's a really interesting, I think that's going to be an extra strategy here. Oh, that was a bit of a waste of a card. Is leaving your opponent at 21 or 16 or 11 life, for example, rather than maybe doing extra 1 or 2 points of damage from time to time, will be an important strategy in this game. Is it more important to do more damage, or is it more important to deny someone an extra card draw? We are definitely, absolutely going to see something like that. All right, so this is a bit annoying. This Imperial Grunt actually got upgraded to a 2/4 with Guard, which sort of screws my Ash Servant. This Barded Gar is also a 3/3 with guard. He gave himself guard, I believe. Yeah, with his summon. And then we still have the 1/1, but he actually casts Scouting Patrol, which puts a 1/1 Imperial Grunt in each lane, and this lane was full. When you do cast a creature, you do have, if you try to cast a creature in a lane that is full, you have the opportunity to sacrifice one of the creatures in the lane to make room for that. So we do have the Shadowfen Priest, actually, which is one of my one of my few, actually, silence cards in my deck. I think it would be a very good idea, actually, to silence this thing. Is there anything else I would rather do? I do like the Last Gasp on this. Draw a +3/+0 Steel Sword. So it's a 2-cast. This is a spell you can include in your deck normally, a Steel Sword. Cost 2, gives a creature +3/+0. Well, this is what this creature gives me when she dies. I'm not sure that it's a high-value creature, but it's not bad anyway. And what part of the goal of this deck is to try to include enough buffs to make these Old Gate Wardens really become activated nicely. So, definitely a few possibilities. What I'm tempted to do is I think I'm going to first attack with the Haunting Spirit and see where that buff goes. So I'm going to do that. I was going to say, I'd probably prefer to land on here. 5/10, very good. If this guy doesn't have, or this girl doesn't have a silence effect, this thing is just going to potentially win the game. Although, again, it's like, this is going to give her a free draw. There's no way around it. Well, when you're doing 5 damage, there's never any way around it whatsoever. So I think I'm going to follow up by dropping a Shadowfen Priest. Do I want to drop it on this side? Yeah, that way I'll have a lot of weight and board control on both. I'm going to drop a Silence over here, stripping everything off. Excellent. And we're going to do that. I mean, I could kill for full board control, but I think the 5 damage is better off. Although here, do I want to trim this down? You know what? I think I'm just going to go for face at this point. I think that's okay. And so I could coin out the Dunmer Nightblade, but again, I'll save that. I think I will put a Brutal Ashlander down over here. That Last Gasp is really not going to be terribly useful with all these 1/1s on the board, because it's likely to just kill something that's not particularly relevant, but it's okay. It is a random enemy. It could even hit face. And I think, unless she puts down a big guard creature, I think I just win. I did draw another dressed guard over here. Oh, 2/3 with guard. And you are going to fill this side with 1/1s. Or not. What's this? Hero of Anvil costs 1 less for each creature summoned this turn. Oh, that's quite cool. So I got another guard. I do have this can deal 4 damage to anything, and I'm at 7 mana now, so that seems like the thing I should do. So I'm not counting first, and I really should. 7. I don't think I've got lethal. So I can use him to blow up that and then go for 5, which brings it to 2, which is more damage than doing the summon to the face. But then that's it. I can't do any more damage than that. Unless I get really lucky. What I could do is I could trade the Brutal here, and then there's a 1 in 8 chance that it'll go face. I'll tell you what, let's roll the bones over here and see what happens. No, did not happen, as expected. So I'm going to use the last of my potion. I'm going to drop the Shocking Wamasi. I'll probably drop it over here. We're going to deal the 4 damage here, so that I can go to face with the 5, leaving you at 2. I don't think I missed lethal. And that's the last card that this character is going to get. Oh, and it's Prophecy card. So she gets to play that for free. It adds a 2/2 with guard on each side, which she probably would have cast anyway, but now she's got a full 8 mana in addition to that. And Renown Legate over here has Breakthrough. Would also normally summon a 1/1 Imperial Grunt and then gain health for each friendly creature. Oh, that just healed her a ton. Well, that took a slightly less pleasant turn. Breakthrough is an interesting ability. It's like Trample for Magic the Gathering. So if Renowned Legate, say, hits my 4/4, so 5 damage, does 4 here, the 1 extra left over will actually splash over to me, which is pretty good. All right, we did get the Drow? I don't know, Shell Armor, +3/+3, so I can do 7 here. There is a guard creature to get through. So again, 7. This could make that 8. There's only 1 guard creature, though, so we do have lethal, so that's fine. So I guess we'll just do that. Boop. Hit you, because there's no guard over there, so that's fine. Drop that, and go for the kill. And there we go. So I really, really, really like this game. I love the deck building because one of the things that's often complained about with Hearthstone, I mean, Hearthstone's obviously a stupendously good game, but it's always been like, yeah, you have 10 separate pools of cards, 9 different classes, and there's not really a lot of crossover between the cards. Therefore, the depth of cards available in any one class is potentially limited. The neutral cards help with that, but as someone who's, grown up playing mostly Magic the Gathering, that limitation still always hurt. In Magic the Gathering, there was 5 cards plus like colorless cards, generally speaking, just call them artifacts, and that allowed you to do a lot of variety. In particular, Magic the Gathering, you can make a 1-color deck, 2, 3, 4, 5-color deck if you want to, which means there's a lot of different ways to build your stuff depending on combinations. And so this introduces a little bit more of that, which I personally like. It really fits my personal preferences quite a bit. There's a shop, of course, where you can purchase card packs. You also purchase arena tickets. We can actually try one of those. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video, because I haven't done any of the arena run yet, and I think it runs a little bit differently. So 100 gold gets you a pack, so I will do that. I don't believe you can spend gold to get arena tickets. I can check that in a moment here if we go back. So arena tickets over here. Come on, there we go. Spend a single ticket or 6 tickets. At this time, it does not appear that you can get these with money or with coins. There might be something else going on. I know that you're guaranteed at least 1 pack in the arena as well, but yeah. And you do get 1 ticket for free as part of playing through the campaign. So anyway, let's open some packs and see what we get. And then, yeah, I'll do a follow-up video where I do 1 run of the arena so that we get a sense of how that works, because I really have no idea. I love that glow. Looks really cool. And I still like that background that you can click on when you play. So I'll drop that over here. You do get 6 cards from each pack. I really like this. Lethal does make it so that you destroy any creature that this damages. If you apply the lethal effect to something that's got 0 attack, it still can't attack, and even if it gets attacked, the lethal does not trigger. You do have to deal damage with a creature for the lethal to count. But I love putting the Daedric Daggers on those 0/5 guard regenerating guys, because it makes them into 1/6s. 6 is a lot to get through, and he does fully regenerate every round, and having only 1 attack but having it be lethal is quite nice. Aerostorm, had that before. Calm. 0 casting cost. I don't know if this is worth it. I don't know if I'd ever include this in my deck. It does mean you can attack something with impunity, but I'd rather just have something that kills even if it's not free. Rapid Shot, I like this. This is a strength card, deals 1 damage to a creature. If it survives, draw a card. Obviously, love that effect, because it's basically free. Fate Weaver, I have not seen you yet. I don't think. 3/3 for 6, which is, so, that's overcosted, but it is Prophecy, and summon, draw a card, and if the card you draw has Prophecy, you play it for free. Okay! So Fate Weaver, you put her into a Prophecy-centric deck. Lots of cards with Prophecy. So it increases the chance that when Fate Weaver draws a card, the new card will have Prophecy and you get it for free. But also you sort of design your deck around the idea that maybe you'll take a lot of damage, draw the free Prophecy cards from taking damage, and it has free. I mean, imagine you draw a Prophecy card, it's Fate Weaver, so you put her into play, you draw cards, another Prophecy. Holy crap, what a turnaround. Still, 3/3 for 6 is really pricey. Obviously, you're playing a very low tempo deck, but that's something that's kind of viable in this. Finish off, destroy a wounded enemy creature. All right, good, that's fine. Let's pop open the next set. Oh yeah, I need to talk about upgrade cards too. Morthal Executioner. When a enemy rune is destroyed, Morthal Executioner gains +2/+0. So the runes are the thing where every 5 hit points, you draw a card. That's what happens when a rune is destroyed. So if he's in play when a rune is destroyed, he gets +2/+0. There's another Nord card that is when the Nord card comes into play, if a rune has already been destroyed, something happens. In particular, I think I've got one where he draws a card, for example, which is pretty good. So the Nords have a lot of the things that happen around runes. Him you'd want out before the rune gets destroyed. The other you want to cast him after a rune is already destroyed. So rare, common, yeah, his speakers, I've got a lot of these. But it's not bad, a 2/2 for 2, and increase your max magicka by 1. Doesn't change your current magicka, but next turn you'll have 1 more magicka than expected. Max magicka, by the way, is 12. Oh, Legion Prefect, summon. All other friendly creatures get +1/+1. So it's not an ongoing effect. It's when he comes into play, he gives all your friendly creatures +1/+1 as a one-shot effect. Pretty good though. Like, it's a permanent +1/+1. Very expensive, but quite strong. Greystone Ravager Orc. 4/1 for 2. He has Prophecy. Comes into play free. I don't think I don't like creatures that have like very few hit points. That's quite nice. A 1/1 for 1 is, I mean, that's about as small as you can get, but he's got built-in lethal. He'll always kill something else, and that's kind of cool. Dragentail Savior Orc summon. He gets +1/+0 for each enemy creature in this lane. Well, he's 2/3 for 2. And most likely, he's actually almost always going to be at least a 3/3 for 2. Well, that's not bad. I mean, you know, good value. A lot of times, cards are actually, a lot of their real strength in constructed decks come from their special abilities, but that's got good value. Although, here's an example of a 3/4 for 3. Wow, all right. Oh, here's an excellent card. I hadn't talked about Pilfer yet. Pilfer is if you hit the enemy opponent, the enemy hero, not just a creature, then the Pilfer effect goes off. In this case, he gets +1/+1. So the first time you attack, so the first time he's a 2/2, but if he hits an enemy, he becomes a 3/3, then a 4/4. Most likely he's not worth it. Well, I guess the other guy was going to be a 3/3 for 2. This is 2/2 for 2. Becomes a 3/3. He's okay there. He does grow. There's another one that's crazy. He starts as a 4/4 and gets +4/+4 as a filter effect. I guess he is a prophecy, so that's part of the reason he might be a little overcosted or underpowered for his value here because of the prophecy effect. But I'm not sure that that's a particularly good use of prophecy. Prophecy is like, you've just taken damage, so you want to catch up to the game. Doesn't seem like the sort of thing you put in here. Got a rare. Malefic Wreath gives a creature -2/-2. It is permanent. Half the time, this is probably going to kill something outright because it'll bring them to 0 health. And even if it doesn't, it'll probably put you in a really good position to kill it with another creature, maybe even, you know, without even bothering to trade. Solid card. Maybe a little pricey. I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to think. I mean, I have cards that just do 3 flat damage for 3. So obviously that's a little bit better at killing stuff. It can also target the enemy hero. Yeah, I don't know. Dress Renegade. He's a 4/4 for 4 with guard, and other friendly creatures can't be shackled. Shackled, if you play Hearthstone, shackled is exactly like frozen. They can't attack for 1 turn, basically. Interesting. Elixir of Light Feast. So this is support ability. You cast this and it stays in play. It's got 3 uses, just like our Elixir of Magicka there, our coin. You activate it to give a creature cover. And cover means the creature can't be attacked. It can still be targeted by spells and abilities, but it can't be attacked. So 3 uses of that. Actually, I think that's probably pretty damn good. Stalwart Ally, 3/3, and he gets... Oh, this is an example of one of those cards that checks the top card of your deck. It's worth noting, it's kind of interesting because there's this joust mechanic in Hearthstone, right? Each player draws a creature at random from their deck. They compare the power or the mana cost, and if yours is higher than theirs, then you get some positive effect, for example, and then cards get shuffled back in. Here, it explicitly checks the top card of your deck. It doesn't draw it. You don't know what it is. It doesn't show you the card in any way. The only thing you'll know is that the next card you're going to draw, in this case, would be an endurance card, or if it fails to go off, not an endurance card, but it stays at the top of your deck, which has all kinds of really interesting implications for both sides. I think in high-level tournaments with competent players who really know each other's deck lists, I think that's going to influence strategy a fair bit. But you can obviously construct a deck where this goes off frequently, or even you could literally construct a deck where this goes off 100% of the time. If your deck is 100% endurance cards, then this will go off 100% of the time, and now you're talking about a 3/5 with guard for 3. Excellent, excellent card value, but does require that you construct your deck in a certain way. I love that. That card is a card that could be very powerful or very mediocre depending on your deck. 5/4 for 5 with guard. That's fine. Guard, it'd be nice if you had more hit points, but basically it will kill whatever. Oh, here's another elixir. 3 uses. Gives a creature a ward. It's a bubble, right? The first time it would take damage, you just prevent it. Pretty standard effect. 1/4 with 4 who's lethal. So he's not good at attacking face, but he does kill creatures, and every time he kills a creature, you gain +1 max magicka. I think I'd prefer this guy if he was like a 1/3 for 3 or something like that, because by the time you get to 4, do you really need to charge up your magicka that much? Because imagine you play him on turn 4, and it's only when he attacks, not when he defends. So you play him on turn 4, you have to hope he survives. Turn 5, well, you're actually at 5 magicka at that point. I suppose you could coin him out a little earlier, so maybe he comes out on turn 3. So turn 4, you attack with him, so it brings you from 4 max magicka to 5 max magicka, but it doesn't give you the magicka right away. So it's really on your on your 5th turn, you'll have 6 Magicka, assuming he's survived. I'm not convinced by that, but, you know, who knows. There you go. Here's another example of an effect that checks the top card of your deck. This gives you a Firebolt. Firebolt is a 1 casting cost card that deals 2 damage. I had some in my deck before. Really good. 3/3 for 3 is solid, and if it gives you a Firebolt, that's actually stupendously good. 4/5 for 4. Tome of Alteration. I do think that's solid. I like the draw card. It's very expensive, but it's quite nice. Going to be probably really good in arena type runs. What else we got? Oh, there's a neutral card. Actually, a couple of neutral cards over here. Here's a 0/3 for 0 with Guard. That's very interesting. And a Stronghold Eradicator, a 6/6 for 5. His summon is give all enemy creatures in this lane Guard. Well, a lot of times you're going to be summoning this on an empty lane, or you're going to be summoning it in a lane where you're looking to kill the enemy creature anyway. So you're going to want to attack the creature, so it's fine that it has Guard. That's really strong. I like this. Good value. Another Rapid Shot. Oh, Bruma Armor. I've got a few of those already. When you summon another creature, give it +0/+2. So he's expensive, you know, 2/2 for 3, but that is a strong ability. Very, very good. Especially, you can always summon him in the stealth lane, right? Summon him in the stealth lane so he can't be killed right away. Here's a support that is ongoing. It's not something that you activate. It just sits around, potentially for the entirety of the game, although in this case it's got a trigger. If your opponent doesn't damage you on your turn, you sacrifice this and summon a Priest of the Moons in each lane. It's a 2/2 that gives you 2 health. So this is gain 4 health and get a pair of 2/2s. Pretty good. Finish off, we've seen that before. Lightning Bolt. 4 damage for 4, and it's a prophecy card. See, I think I prefer the 3 damage for 3 most of the time, but the fact that this is a prophecy, holy crap, that's really strong. You draw this when you take damage and just kill something for free instantly. Very good. Elixir of Conflict, 3 charges, gives a creature +1/+1. Ooh, that's quite neat. I like that. 5th Legion Trainer. When you summon another creature, give it +1/+0. We just saw that in the last game. And Dark Harvester. I don't think I've seen this before. 2/4 for 7. Prophecy, Guard, Summon. Okay, so it gives you 4 hit points and has Guard. That's still really expensive for 7, but the deal is that it is a Prophecy card, which increases the cost, but I'm not convinced on that one at all. What else we got? I mean, I think he's a common, so how strong could he possibly be? Boglurker, 9/1 for 4. Well, again, you can cast him in the Shadow Lane, so he can't be attacked right away, although he's pretty easy to kill through a variety of other means. I suspect this is not going to be my favorite card, but, you know, who knows. Rahini Highwayman, Pilfer, draw a card. Now that I like. 2/2 for 3, but if you hit the opponent, you draw a card. If he hits an opponent twice, you're crazy ahead. But that might be a little tricky with a 2/2. Still, very interesting. Spider Worker, 0/1 for 2. You draw a card when you cast them. So it's basically a pay 2 mana to thin out your deck a little bit. Although with the Prophecy, it's okay. Interesting. There we go. That Pilfer, Cut Purse again. Nord Firebrand, 1/1 with charge for 0. He probably has room in certain types of decks, actually. And there's another Calm ability. And what we got in this one? Come on, give me a legendary. I mean, I know we're only opening 7 packs, but Midnight Sweep, summon a... Oh, this is the one we saw in the previous game. A 2/2 with Guard in each lane, and it's a Prophecy effect. And I think that's great. I mean, a pair of 2/2s with Guards for 4... I think is a really, really strong effect. I mean, not a whole lot of pure hit points for 4, although, you know, you're getting 4/4 worth of stats for 4, and it seems okay. With the Guard on top of that, that's okay. In each lane, which gives you a little bit more control. And in particular, use these guys to protect your other creatures, which I think is really strong. And as a Prophecy effect, I think this is really, really good. Camelor Hero, 4/2 for 3. Summon, deals 2 damage to your opponent. Not an enemy, not a creature, your opponent specifically. It goes for face. A 2/6 with Guard for 5. It's a little pricey, but not ridiculously so. Remember, we can get a 0/6 with Guard, well, and Regeneration, I suppose, for 2. But again, it's that Prophecy aspect, and I think a big fat Guard creature as a Prophecy really synergizes nicely with that idea of you're taking damage, you're maybe playing a slower deck. That kind of works out there, especially if you combo it with other things. Is a common. I mean, I don't think it's super strong, but it makes sense. 3/3 for 3 with Guard and Prophecy effect. Solid. Healing Hands. Ooh. Heal a creature, then give it +1/+1 for free. That's kind of nice, actually. That's actually really good. Potentially a massive game-changing swing here. And it's cheap. probably fits in relatively well. It's the fact that it's cheap and gives a +1/+1 means it works really well in a fast tempo deck. But the heal actually works better with sort of fatter stuff. But it can see a lot of uses. You know, trade, like kill something on the other side, leaving your own creature barely alive, heal it up, and make it even stronger. Big swing card. And this one I'm not convinced about. It's free, sure. Give a creature a ward. You know, it's a bubble. It goes away pretty quick. There are creatures that combo with wards, though. There's a creature. Let's see if I can search for it. 27 new cards. There's a creature. I don't even know if I've got one. Right here, Breton Conjurer. It's a 1/1 for 4 with a ward. When it loses its ward, it summons a 5/5 with guard. So you're talking about 6/6 worth of stats. Actually, with the ward, it's even a little bit more annoying. Maybe count it something like a 6/7 for 4, which is pretty good, although it does have to trigger. And if you give it its ward back, using something like Lesser Ward, or the Elixir of Deflection, or there is a creature in the game, I don't think I've got one. Oh, this gives you ward and +4/+0. That's not bad, actually. There's a creature in the game that when it comes into play, it gives something ward. You could build a deck around the idea of continuously rewarding the Breton Conjurer. Obviously, it's not that hard for your enemy to kill this on his turn. He'll have to attack it twice, or use a direct removal spell, which do exist. Is it Spear, Lance, Javelin? Piercing Javelin, there we go. 5 casting costs, destroy a creature. Kind of expensive, but it's also a prophecy. I think it's actually a pretty solid card. Especially at sort of the noob level, when you don't have a lot of cards. I think that's going to be a very good one. I suspect that as you get more cards and your decks get more specialized, things will get stronger. Oh, I didn't want to talk about... where was that? Right over here. See this Apprentice Potion, how it's got the green arrow over here? So this is a card I got for free as part of the campaign. I got this as I was playing the campaign. Maybe it was one of the starter decks or something like that. I got these Apprentice Potions, which don't really impress me too much. Gain 5 health for 1. It's not, you know, heal something arbitrary. It's you yourself gain 5 health for 1. Not too strong. But the green thing says that when I reach, in this case it's level 18, appropriate number. When I get to level 18, the Apprentice's Potion will be upgraded to a Healing Potion, which is still gain 5 health for 1, but it's also Prophecy. So you get to draw it and cast it instantly. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter that much. It's only 1 casting cost, so you're not really saving that much mana. But maybe the fact that you're going to be casting this on your opponent's turn could save you, right? He hits you once, you draw your Prophecy card, you play this right away, healing 5, then he hits you again, which would have killed you, but now doesn't. So it becomes slightly better. There's others that are actually really, really, really substantial upgrades. So you don't hit your full strength with those starter cards until you actually level up. Here's another one, this Dune Rogue. And actually you see this a lot. 2 different routes that it can go down. You can either you can upgrade your Dune Rogue to a Dune Stalker, or to a Dune Smuggler. Slightly different. I believe these cards, it's possible that these cards may not be gettable in a normal pack, but they should still be craftable. We could check that, actually. If I go to the, what's this ability called? Soul Sight, and I look for Dune, yeah, so this is the Dune Rogue, and he can upgrade into either Dune Stalker or the Dune Smuggler, and you can craft them. So you can craft them ahead of time. And you can also, if you upgrade him to the Dune Smuggler, and you decide you really need some Dune Stalkers, or you want both, you can do that just by crafting them. Obviously, very similar system to Hearthstone. But it makes thematic sense with Elder Scrolls. These are soul gems. So you can soul trap something, i.e. generate soul gems, or you can soul summon, spend your soul gems to craft a card. I get quite a few of these gem rewards for completing the practice modes. In fact, I think that's what we just got now for completing that practice mode game. You get the soul gems. So if you just play practice against the AI, I'm pretty sure you just farm those up, which is quite nice. Anyway, I'm going to put a cut in this video here. I will go and do a run of the solo arena in a follow-up video so that we can see exactly how this works. I'm going to be going into this. Oh, all right, so my bad earlier. I said that you can't buy an arena ticket for gold. Well, you can pay gold instead of having an arena ticket. Okay, good. I'm really happy about that, because of course one of my favorite things to do in Hearthstone is just to basically free arena forever, where you get enough profit from your daily quests or maybe completing arena runs to afford 150 gold, do another arena run. And you are guaranteed to do this. So it looks like it's very, very similar to the Hearthstone arena, but again, thematically, this makes perfect sense in the Elder Scrolls to have an Imperial Arena, and hey, why not borrow a mechanic? So some things are just general CCG things that every CCG is going to have, and it's perfectly fine and acceptable to have it in Elder Scrolls. Other things are going to become just general, all computerized CCGs will have it, and it's just that Hearthstone was basically one of the first, and so, you know, that's fine. And then there's other things like this and the Soul Gem thing. It's like, yes, thematically it works, but functionally and mechanically it's exactly the same as Hearthstone. But then they did add a lot of really interesting new stuff. I love the deck creation. I think that's fantastic. I think the 2 lanes in the battlefield is brilliant and is really going to add a lot of depth to gameplay and some really interesting decisions. I think it's going to be a great, great, great game. I don't know, you know, it'll of course depend on enough people picking it up and playing, and how do you compete with the juggernaut that is Hearthstone. Honestly, I've gotten a little tired of Hearthstone, even watching competitive play. I've literally gotten tired of it, and I think it's because of the sort of fixed metagame. I don't know if it's going to be any better in this. No idea. But I'm hoping that this pushes every other CCG out there to continue to get better. Competition is awesome. Thanks for watching, folks. See you next time.